Why do Japanese people love Toyota and Honda, but completely ignore American cars? Is it protectionism, a secret trade barrier, or is the truth much more inconvenient? Donald Trump says Japan is unfair, that Japan blocks American cars. He even claims there's a crazy bowling ball test in Japan. But is any of that true? Let's look at the numbers. American cars make up less than 1% of the Japanese market. Meanwhile, Japanese cars dominate in the U.S. So is Japan cheating, or are American companies just not making cars that fit? It's not about politics, it's about roads that are too narrow, cars that are too big, fuel that costs twice as much, and a buying culture that most Americans have never experienced. This isn't just about Japan. The same thing is happening in Europe too. In this video, we'll explore 10 reasons why American cars fail in Japan, and what Trump doesn't seem to understand. Let's begin with the question he keeps asking. Why don't Japanese people want American cars? Section 1. Why do Japanese people reject American cars? Why do Japanese people avoid American cars, even though they love driving? It's not about politics, it's not about nationalism, and it's definitely not because they hate Americans. They just don't want them. And that's the part no one in the U.S. wants to hear. But here's the real question. What do Japanese people actually want in a car? And why can't American automakers seem to figure it out? Let's start with the obvious. Japan's roads are smaller, the streets are tighter, the cities are more compact. You're not driving across a desert highway in Arizona. You're squeezing through an alley in Tokyo. So, what happens if you take a Ford F-150 and try parking it in a Japanese apartment complex? Good luck with that, but it goes deeper than size. Japanese buyers expect their cars to be small, fuel-efficient, reliable, and tailored to their way of life. American cars often feel too big, too rough, too loud, and not designed with Japanese streets or drivers in mind. This isn't about unfair trade. It's about product mismatch. And yet, many in the U.S. still think, they just won't let us sell. But let's ask something more honest. Would Americans buy a car that doesn't fit their lifestyle, doesn't fit their roads, and feels expensive to drive? Maybe the answer isn't why don't Japanese people want American cars. Maybe the question should be, why haven't American companies built cars the Japanese actually want? Section 2. The bowling ball test, a myth that refuses to die. What if I told you Japan drops bowling balls on car hoods to test if your vehicle is worthy? Sounds ridiculous, right? Well, that's exactly what Donald Trump claimed. Not once, but multiple times, including in front of CEOs, reporters, and the world. He said Japan uses something called the bowling ball test. You drop a bowling ball from 20 feet. If the hood dents, the car fails. The problem is, this test doesn't exist. No Japanese regulation mentions anything like it. No company in Japan does it. It's just made up. MSNBC said even the White House tried to walk it back, claiming it was a joke. But insiders later admitted Trump actually believed it. And that's the scary part, because it shows how powerful stories can be, even when they're not true. So why does this myth matter? Because it gives people in America a reason to blame Japan. It makes it sound like Japan is cheating, rigging the system, closing its doors. But here's the truth. Japan doesn't block American cars with fake tests. Japan doesn't even charge tariffs on American vehicles. In fact, America does. During Trump's presidency, U.S. tariffs on Japanese cars were 2.5%. The bowling ball test isn't a policy. It's a fantasy. And it's one reason so many Americans misunderstand why their cars don't sell. Because if the story you believe is a lie, you'll never see the real problem. Section 3. The numbers don't lie. Japan isn't blocking U.S. cars. Let's put the politics aside and just look at the numbers. Today, American cars make up less than 1% of Japan's entire car market. That's not a typo. Less than 1%. In 2018, General Motors sold only 700 vehicles in Japan. And Ford? They gave up entirely. They pulled out in 2017. Meanwhile, Japanese cars dominate in America. Toyota, Honda, Nissan, they're everywhere. And Americans love them. So if this is a trade war, why is only one side winning? Here's what many people don't know. Japan doesn't put tariffs on American cars. 0%. But America? They charge 2.5% on Japanese cars. And yet, Japanese brands still thrive in the U.S. So when Trump says Japan is blocking our cars, the numbers say otherwise. If anything, the U.S. has more protection. And here's the bigger twist. 1/3 of Japanese cars sold in America are made in America. That's right. Japanese companies build factories in Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, and hire thousands of American workers. So what's really unfair? That Japanese companies invest in America? Or that American carmakers don't try in Japan? This isn't about rules. It's about effort. Japan isn't blocking anyone. It's just buying what fits. Section 4 built for highways, not for Tokyo. Imagine trying to drive a giant American truck through the tiny backstreets of Tokyo. You wouldn't just be uncomfortable. You'd be stuck. This is one of the biggest reasons American cars fail in Japan. They're made for wide highways and open suburbs, not narrow alleys, tight corners, or tiny parking lots. In Japan, many homes are built on narrow roads. There's often no sidewalk, and barely enough room for one car to pass. BBC once filmed a reporter driving a full-size U.S. SUV through a typical Japanese neighborhood. He could barely turn. Electric poles, stone walls, parked bikes every corner was a challenge. This isn't a rare case. This is Japan. American cars, especially pickups and full-size SUVs, are often more than 5 meters long. Some reach 6 meters. But many Japanese parking spaces? They're just 5 meters, sometimes less. So even if someone wanted a big American car, they might not be able to park it, or turn it, or drive it through their own neighborhood. That's not because Japan is unfair. That's because Japan is small. And it's not just the cities. Even in suburbs, roads are narrower than in the U.S. If a product doesn't match the environment, it won't sell no matter how much marketing you do. So the question isn't, why don't Japanese people like our cars? The better question might be, why are we trying to sell pickup trucks in a country full of bicycles? Section 5 Wrong side of the road. The steering problem. Here's a simple question. If you had to drive every day with the steering wheel on the wrong side, would you enjoy it? Probably not. Japan drives on the left side of the road. That means cars are right-hand drive. It's safer. It's easier to see. It's more comfortable for parking, toll booths, and turning. But most American cars? They come with the wheel on the left. Because that's how America drives. Now here's the key difference. European brands like BMW and Mercedes? They make right-hand drive models for Japan. They invest. They adapt. They want to fit the market. But many American brands don't. They ship the same cars from the U.S. without changing anything. And for Japanese drivers, that's a deal breaker. It's not about nationalism. It's not about bias. It's about convenience. Imagine going through a Japanese drive-through from the passenger side, or reaching across your seat to pay at a toll booth, or making a right turn blind. These little things add up. They create stress. They feel foreign. They make a car harder to live with. Some U.S. brands like Jeep though offer right-hand drive. And guess what? They're selling. So it's not impossible. It's just ignored. When you don't localize, don't be surprised when people say, that car isn't made for me. Section 6 Fuel costs twice as much. Why efficiency matters in Japan. Here's something many Americans don't think about. Gas in Japan costs twice as much as it does in the U.S. Let that sink in. Twice the customary time you fill up. In America, fuel is cheap. You can drive a big SUV or truck and barely notice the gas bill. But in Japan, every liter counts. Drivers pay around 180 yen per liter. That's about $6.50 per gallon. So what kind of car do people choose? Small, light, efficient, smart. In America, the top-selling vehicle is the Ford F-150 pickup. In Japan, it's tiny K cars under 1.5 meters wide, 660cc engines. Designed to sip gas, not guzzle it. So here's a question for you. Would Americans still love their big trucks if gas cost them $6.50 a gallon? Because in Japan, that's reality. Fuel efficiency isn't a luxury. It's survival. And Japanese buyers don't just look at horsepower. They look at cost per kilometer. They look at resale value. They think long-term. American cars have improved, yes, but many still feel heavy, under-optimized, and expensive to run in a country where fuel is gold. And it's not just Japan. Europe faces the same reality. High fuel costs, narrow streets, small cars. This isn't about rejecting American values. It's about choosing what works. So ask yourself, is it really anti-American to skip the truck when gas costs as much as sushi? Section 7. They break down the image that won't go away. Ask a Japanese driver about American cars, and you might hear the same phrase. They break too easily. It's not always fair, and it's not always true anymore. But the reputation? It's still very real. Where did this image come from? Back in the 1970s and 80s, Japanese carmakers were rising. They offered compact, efficient, reliable vehicles, perfect for Japan. Meanwhile, some American brands produced cars that were rushed, heavy, and flawed. Think the Chevy Vega, Ford Pinto, AMC Gremlin. These models were plagued by recalls, accidents, and bad reviews. In Japan, word spreads fast. Trust takes time. But once you lose it, it takes even longer to earn it back. Even now, many Japanese remember stories from their parents, or they tried an American car once, and it felt cheap, not refined, not durable. One Japanese driver told the BBC, it didn't feel safe, and the interior felt like plastic. Today's American cars are much better. Fuel economy is up, safety features are improved, and reliability ratings have climbed. But the shadow of the past still lingers. And in Japan, first impressions last for decades. So even if the product has improved, the image hasn't caught up. That's not Japan's fault. That's the price of reputation. And in a country where trust matters more than style, a bad impression can last longer than a warranty. Section 8. Not just Japan. Why Europe rejects American cars too. Still think Japan is the problem? Let's take a look at Europe. American cars also struggle there. And the reasons? They're almost identical. Europe has narrow streets, dense cities, expensive gas. Just like Japan. In places like Rome, Paris, or Amsterdam. Good luck fitting a 6-meter pickup into a 5-meter parking space. Or turning it through a medieval alleyway. That wasn't designed for anything larger than a horse. Even in Germany, where cars are a national obsession, American models rarely appear. Why? Because they're too big, too loud, too thirsty. In 2022, over 690,000 European-made cars were shipped to the U.S., but only about 116,000 American cars were sent the other way. That's not a trade imbalance. That's a product mismatch. The New York Times spoke to drivers in Munich, who said American pickups were impossible to park. In cities like Berlin or Madrid, fuel costs nearly double what it does in the U.S., so Europeans choose small, efficient, adaptable. Same as Japan. Trump may blame Japan for not buying American cars, but Europe isn't buying them either. And they don't have the same cultural reasons. They just don't fit. So maybe it's not about Japan. Maybe it's not about nationalism. Maybe it's about something far more obvious. You can't sell a whale in a koi pond. Section 9. Jeep and Tesla. The exceptions that prove the rule. If American cars can't sell in Japan or Europe, why are Jeep and Tesla doing just fine? Let's start with Jeep. Unlike many U.S. brands, Jeep actually offers right-hand drive models. It learned from its past. when it made delivery vehicles for the U.S. Postal Service. That detail, that one adaptation, opened the door to a market everyone else ignored. In 2018, Jeep accounted for nearly half of all American cars sold in Japan. They weren't the cheapest, they weren't the smallest, but they fit a lifestyle outdoors, adventurous, rugged. And most importantly, they felt intentional. Jeep didn't just show up, it made itself fit. Then there's Tesla. Tesla didn't sell the typical gas-guzzling American image. Instead, it sold technology, silence, innovation. In Europe, Tesla built a factory. In Germany, to be closer to the market, to deliver faster, to build trust. That's what makes the difference. Jeep respected the road. Tesla respected the future. So the excuse that Japanese people just don't like American cars? It doesn't hold up. They'll buy American if the product fits, if it feels designed for them. Because respect is a two-way street. If you don't show up with effort, you shouldn't expect love in return. Section 10. It's not a trade war. It's a design problem. So after all this, is Japan really blocking American cars? No, it's not a war. It's not sabotage. It's not hatred. It's design. It's context. It's culture. American cars are built for open roads, cheap fuel, and wide, suburban driveways. But Japan isn't built that way. Neither is Europe. Narrow alleys, expensive gas, different expectations, different values. Blaming Japan for not buying American cars is like blaming a fish for not buying a bicycle. It doesn't mean the fish hates bikes. It means the bike doesn't work underwater. And that's the truth American automakers have to face. It's not about being blocked. It's about being blind. Blind to the needs of foreign markets. Blind to their roads, their fuel costs, their habits, their lives. Yes, Japan loves cars, but only the ones that respect Japanese life. So if America wants to sell, it must first listen. Because this isn't about trade. It's about fit. Japan doesn't need to change. The cars do. And until that happens, no amount of tariffs, tweets, or tantrums will make a whale fit in a koi pond. Cultural habits like this may seem small, but they reflect big ideas. How does your culture compare? Let's share and learn from each other. Leave a comment if you'd like. And please like and subscribe for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.